Gripsters and random YouTubers, Evan here for Grips.com. Just got back from the Fallsview Poker Classic and man, what a dream experience this tournament was. Like, words are gonna be hard to describe and capture the feeling of what happened out there, but I'm gonna try my best to share the experience as fully as possible with you guys so you can really live the experience through my words and through my pictures and through my video recordings, and hopefully vicariously get the feeling that I had while I was out there so that you can finish this video inspired to go out there and live your own epic poker journey with your best friends, or potentially some new Grips friends, or potentially with yours truly, your boy E. Let's start. Fallsview Poker Classic 2017. What a year, what a dream. We had 5 amazing storylines that happened this year at the Fallsview Poker Classic. The first one was Mike Leah getting the three-peat in the 1K. This guy won the tournament this year, he won the tournament last year, and 2 years ago he won it. That's 3 first places in 4 years. Absurd ROI, but totally deserved. The guy is an incredible player. I played with him last year and I watched him play this year, and he really earned it. Mike Lee is one of those guys who does all the things right, and if you're looking for another role model in the poker place, someone to aspire to be like, Mike Leah is a great example of a true professional poker player. The second storyline was Darren Elias winning his 3rd WPT title in the 5K event. So for anyone who thinks that poker tournaments are all luck and no skill, well, they clearly haven't met either of these two guys or played enough tournaments. Darren, awesome player, super hard worker, and something really interesting about Darren, the day of the 5K, I was walking down with my buddy Max and we're like, hey man, why aren't you at the tournament? He's like, oh, I think they're gonna start late, and the less time I need to spend in that room, the better. So he really recognizes kind of the tense energy, the anxious energy that is, just flush in a poker room, specifically in a poker tournament. And he's actually that in tune with it that he's like, I'm gonna spend the minimum time around that. I'm just gonna put in as much time as is necessary, but otherwise I'm gonna stay out of that environment so that I can feel my best. And you know what we say, when you feel your best, you play your best. The third storyline that was really awesome was the hometown heroes, Xuan Liu, Ryan Yu, and Dan Watton chopping up the 2500 event for like almost 700K between the 3 of them. The Fallsview Poker Classic has made a lot of hometown heroes a lot of money, and it was nice it was so cool to be there at the end and be like, wow, I actually know all 3 of these people and they all work so hard on their game, and it's so nice to see them get this, just probably a career-changing score, and to get to witness it firsthand. It's just, it brought so much joy to me to get to be there, to experience that moment with them, and just see the joy on their faces and the happiness and just the amazing feeling that came with, whoa, I just won $250,000, what just happened, And if you don't know yet, you'll know soon enough, I promise you. The fourth storyline was one that I was personally involved with. My student Tim, my first formal coaching session. I've worked unofficially with a lot of people in the past, guys like Greg Mersing, Griffin Benger, Tony Gregg, and done my part to work a little bit of my magic to sprinkle in the positivity and really help keep them in a positive, elevated mindset so they can perform their best. But that was very unofficial, it was kind of just like being a really good friend. And for the first time, someone actually said, yo, Evan, I got this tournament coming up, I want to work with you. And my man Tim hired me for 3 hours of coaching. Also threw in a free ride up to the Fallsview, free hotel, should I choose to stay with him. And I'll tell you more about the story as we get into the video, but the short of it is he finished 5th place in the 1K buy-in tournament for $62,000, his biggest score ever, and he's only been playing poker for like 2 years. Pretty ridiculous, right? I guess the Grips poker training system definitely works. And finally, the 5th storyline was my personal storyline at the Fallsview Poker Classic, where I learned that I can go 0 for 3 and still make money. by following the 4 S's of success in tournament poker, which are selling action, swapping with other great players, staking and making good investments in great players, and finally, the most important one, supporting. Because no matter who you're invested in, no matter who you have a piece of, if that person is feeling unsupported, it's unlikely that they're going to be able to get the result that you really like them to have. So I really saw and felt the difference that came into play when I supported the people who I wanted to see succeed. The Fallsview Poker Classic was an absolutely great trip. I felt like I played some really good poker, did a really good job of preparing for the events and bringing my A game and being in my best state of mind. And although I had some distractions, some obstacles, some disruptions along the way, which I'm going to talk about in this video, I still felt I was able to bring a very good level of performance. Now, I didn't get the results that I might have wanted. Going in there, I was like, well, I won this tournament last year. I chopped it, so I'm just gonna go in there and do it again. Obvious expectation. So my thoughts were that I was gonna go into Fallsview, make a big pile of money so that I could go back to the Bahamas again and repeat the process from last year. And while things didn't go as expected, as planned, I actually got what I wanted, which was, a big old pile of money, and a whole lot more, which was I made new friends, I got more experience as a coach, I got really good feedback as a coach, and I really just recognized my value in the poker community. Not just by working with people one-on-one, but also meeting gripsters, people talking to me, giving me feedback about the videos, telling me about how the inner monologue that I offered them helped them get out of a tough spot and get rid of a negative thought pattern and turn things around for their trip. So I really recognized my value to the poker community and everyone who watches these videos and everyone who works with me directly. And in doing so, I just felt so fulfilled and so much better because I'm like, wow, even though I'm not doing what I thought I needed to be doing, which is being the best player in the world and winning every tournament I play, well, you know what? Truth is, I offer a lot of value and it's in my own unique way, and I feel awesome about doing what comes naturally to me and what I feel great doing and what I feel plays to my strengths. So yeah, front row center, railing the final table, that's my spot, baby. Now let's get into the storyline and talk about how I found myself there, not 1, but 2 times this trip. So let's start with Tim Deering, who was my official student for the Fallsview Poker Classic. I met Tim last year in the 1K event when there were 3 tables left. He sat on my left, we talked a little bit, I got to know him, I'm like, this seems like a good guy. And he was playing pretty solid, a little creative, and then Mike Leah got to the table, raising every hand, and he just said, you know what, I'm not gonna stand for this. I'm gonna put this guy in his place. So Tim decided he wanted to battle with the best player in the tournament, quite possibly the best tournament player in Canada. And despite getting a couple of bluffs through and some very creative spots, eventually Mike Leah did get the best of him. And I remember going up to him on break, being like, Tim, dude, what are you doing going after the best player on the table? You're so close to the final table. There's so many other good spots to go after. Why would you try to butt heads with the toughest spot in the tournament? And he's like, I don't know. So Tim hired me for coaching. I saw him at the Port Perry tournament a couple weeks ago, and he said, hey, Gripster, I've been watching your videos. I really like your videos. I said, thanks, man. That's awesome. He said, hey, do you do one-on-one coaching? I said, yeah, I do one-on-one coaching. What do you have in mind? He said, I want to win the Fallsview 1K this year. And I need some coaching to fine-tune my game, and I think you're the guy for the job. And I said, all right, Tim, what do you got in mind? He said, I want 3 hours of coaching with you. I'll give you a ride up to the tournament. We can coach on the way up. I'll give you a place to stay. I'll give you everything you need. I said, Tim, that's fantastic. I don't know if I can take you up on the room because I really need my beauty rest, and I have some strange preparation methods I do before the tournaments that are best done in the privacy of my own space. But yeah, I'm in. Pick me up. We'll go for a ride and we'll talk it out. Tim picked me up on Thursday. Yeah, Tim picked me up on Thursday around 1 o'clock, hopped in, had myself fully ready to go. I'd made 6 liters of smoothies. I made like some quinoa salad. I had all my ingredients for my chia seed pudding so I could eat the breakfast that I'm used to, the dinner that I'm used to, and the snacks that I'm used to, so I could have high quality energy and really good fuel for the whole series. And you know what? It made a difference. On most poker trips, I usually feel quite withered and quite tired by the end of the series, sometimes even halfway through. And I thought, you know, is it the poker? Is it the people? Is it the partying? What's really getting me down? And after talking to a bunch of other people, they said, you know what? 99 times out of 100, it's the food. It's not enough water, it's not good quality food, maybe not enough sleep, but it's usually the food. Not enough food and not enough time to digest it. So I said, you know, this time I'm gonna do it right. I brought my high quality food and I felt amazing throughout the entire series. Despite running really bad and having really bad luck, I felt awesome the entire series. Tim picked me up, we went for a drive out, and I figured, you know, we'd do some mental game coaching on the way up. And I'm talking to Tim and I'm like, so, you know, do you want to do some mental game and strategy? He's like, yeah, you know, I don't really think I need the mental game. But, you know, let's talk about strategy. I said, you know what? All right, I'll throw in the mental game coaching for free because I know how much it makes a difference. And I said, whatever strategic stuff you want to do, we'll do. So we got to know each other on the ride up. Tim has a really good mindset. He's a very hard worker, very huge passion for the game, huge drive to succeed, just wants to be a winner, just wants to be the best player he can be and become successful about something he's passionate about. And that's the kind of mindset that gets results. We checked in the hotel, great room, great spot. I decided I'd stay with him for the first night. And I said one thing, I said, Tim, do you snore, brother? And he said, no, I don't snore. I said, okay, because I can't have any snoring, man, because if you snore, I'm not going to be able to get my sleep. And if I don't get like at least 6 hours of sleep, dude, I'm fucked. There's no way I'm going to be able to play a good tournament if I haven't had a good night's sleep. And he said, don't worry, I don't snore. I said, okay, deal. And I'm in for one night. So, you know, we register for the tournament, feeling good, feeling fresh, excited to play. And it's around 10:30 and I said, you know, we haven't done a formal session. We just did the mental game coach on the way up. So what questions do you have? You know, let's talk about some spots. And Tim wanted to learn how to play top pair more effectively. He wanted to learn a little bit about board texture. So we spent a good hour and a half working on that. And what I realized during the coaching session was, wow, this is really good preparation for me to get ready for the tournament. I'm thinking about the right concepts, the right things, you know, my poker mind's on. But I also realized that if I was going to be giving my 100% to coaching Tim and giving him the best chance of succeeding, I was going to be sacrificing a little bit my chances of playing my best because, you know, normally I'd be asleep at like 10 o'clock the day before a tournament. So we did the session, he's feeling great, and I go to sleep at 12. And Tim said he'll come in a little later, and around 2:30 I hear the, and I'm like, shit. Well, all right, don't have the earplugs. Even if I wake him up, he's probably just gonna start again, so I guess I'll just throw on a meditation. So I did a guided meditation. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling as good as I can on 2 hours of sleep, and I try to get some more rest. Not happening, so I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna get up. So I do everything to prime my mind. I read some Tommy Angelo Elements of Poker. I email my dad for his birthday and let him know that I'm dedicating my play to him that day. And I look up some pictures of Ben and Charlie winning tournaments to get inspired and feeling really confident. I go into the tournament feeling great, you know, as great as I can on 2 hours of sleep. And the dealer from the tournament is the same dealer who dealt me kings over jacks for a massive pot last year, one of the pots that helped me eventually chop the 1K tournament. And I'm like, okay, this is great. All the signs are pointing in the right direction. First big pot I play, I make a set of jacks in a 3-bet pot, slow play it properly, let my opponent turn a king with ace king, stack him, I'm up to 20K. I'm up to 26K from the 10K starting stack in the first 2 levels. And I'm like, this is going to be a cakewalk. I'm just going to come in here, win 100 G's, easy game. And then the fatigue started to kick in. You know, 3 hours in the day, the fatigue started to kick in. And what happens when I get tired? I force the action. I try to play more hands. I try to play more pots. I try to make things happen faster. And while the opens I was making weren't super wide, you know, king 10 off from early mid position, King 9 suited in a similar position. And I felt the antes were big enough to justify opening these hands. At the early stages of the tournament, it was just really unnecessary. And I ended up bleeding some chips. I made a really nice read where I opened ace-9 offsuit under the gun +1. Next position, 3-bet me, but I caught a tell on him that he was kind of on a mediocre hand. I 4-bet him with the ace blocker, got it through. I'm feeling great. Like, I'm feeling like I'm on my game, but I can still tell I'm not playing my usual style. You know, I'm getting creative, I'm trying some new things which are good, but doing a bit too much of them. It's a little bit sloppy because I just am not fully rested and I'm not fully focused. I also noticed myself not paying as much attention to the table as I'd like to because I just didn't have the mental resources available to do so. I used all my tricks to still perform at a pretty good level. I used my binaural beats. I had really good food, I was doing my breathing techniques, I was doing the things to keep me in a positive state and keep me present, but there's just, you can't do it without sleep. You got to have a good night's sleep, or at least I need a good night's sleep to be able to play my best. That was one of the main takeaways. After the dinner break, I just kind of bled down, ended up getting all my chips in with ace-jack suited against ace-queen in a totally standard shove spot. And was eliminated from the tournament, but I felt decent about my play. You know, I felt like I gave it a B+ that day, which, you know, for no sleep is really good. But in the future, I'm like, I need my sleep, duh. But the great news was Tim made it through the day as one of the chip leaders with like 140K. And I remember planting a little seed, like right before dinner break, he saw I had a big stack. He's like, hey, Evan, what's it like being the table captain, bro? And I looked back at him and I said, why don't you tell me, Tim? And he's like, oh, I don't have those chips. I'm like, you will soon. You will soon. And he finished the day with a huge stack. So I said, you know, even if I didn't do great in the 1K, my students doing fantastic, and the coaching hours paid for it. So, you know, it was almost a free roll for me. The next day was really awesome because I invited one of the gripsters to spend the weekend with me. Someone else who decided it was a good idea to hire me for 3 hours of coaching. And I said, yo, come to Niagara, man. Play this 1K. You're going to have a great time. His name was Mitch. Absolutely awesome dude. I had such a pleasure getting to meet this guy and connect with him. Like, one thing I realized this trip, the gripsters are awesome. Like, everyone who watches the videos and has, you know, similar values and a similar mindset to me are just the most awesome people. I can't wait to meet more of you in the future. It's just, that's the best part about doing this is connecting with amazing people like you. Mitch came up for the tournament. I bought 10% of him because I believed he had an edge on the field. He thought he had an edge on the field, and after playing day one, he's like, holy man, you weren't kidding, like this is a soft spot. I'm like, yeah, dude, game selection for the win. Oh man. Mitch ended up working a short stack very well, navigating it to cash for like $2,300, and so I made a little bit off that investment too. Between the payment for coaching and the staking that I did there, I was already covered for the first event. Fantastic. Mitch and I went out for a celebratory dinner, just talked life, talked finance, talked Magic the Gathering. Just, oh man. I'm just so grateful for that experience, man. It was just, it's really heartwarming to get to connect with someone like that. Someone who really understood me and someone who I felt I really understood as well. Someone who appreciated all my weird idiosyncrasies and my strange things that I do. He understood the value of them as well. And if you're watching this video, hopefully you do too. So fast forward to day two. Tim's got a great stack in day two, one of the chip leaders, and I meet up with him the night before. I said, you know, is there anything else you want to cover? We go through some things. And then day two, I say, okay, you know, you're gonna be on the money bubble, so you should adjust your play and take advantage of the people who want to cash. We talked a little bit about, you know, the different dynamics to implement, which I'm not gonna go into detail because I cover it in my MTT video strategy guide. But Tim implemented the knowledge. I gave him the mid-stage tape. I said, listen to this before you go to bed. He actually fell asleep listening to it, which was awesome because he was dreaming about it all night and woke up to those thoughts in his head. He played great on the bubble, chipped up really well, And on the dinner break, I heard he had a good stack, so me and Mitch paid him a surprise visit at his hotel room just to check in, make sure he was doing well, address any concerns he had, and he was feeling pretty confident. I actually showed up at his room, he was reading a poker book. I'm like, wow, dude, you are literally doing all the right things to get a great result out here. And he finished the day 2 of 18. Prior to day 3, I said, here, listen to the late stages tape, and then here is the final table tape, which you should listen to on dinner break before you play the final table. And Tim, awesome student, totally receptive, said, if you tell me that's what to do, then that's what I'm gonna do. Everything you've been saying has been working so far, helping me out, so I'm just gonna keep applying it and trusting your guidance and playing an awesome game, because Tim is a very skilled player with a lot of moves. Fast forward to day 3, Tim's day of the final table, but also the day of the 2500, the tournament that I said, you know, this is gonna be my main event. I'm gonna bring my A game. I've been resting up now that I had my own hotel room, and I was feeling very fresh. Problem was the cards weren't feeling so fresh, and I couldn't get anything going, you know? The one time I bluffed, it was into the nuts in a spot where my opponent would have folded a lot of his range to multiple barrels, but not the top of his range. When I decided it was a good idea to slow play my flop trips and go for a check back flop, call turn, raise river line, well, my opponent rivered a 2-outer, which was strong enough to call my river raise. On my bust out hand, where I flopped 2 overs and a straight draw in a spot where I'm like, I got 3x the pot, this is a great opportunity to get all my chips in. Well, homie Jaded Jason had flopped the one hand that had me in bad shape, the nut flush draw, and I was eliminated from that. But I didn't mind, because it meant I had more time to go do what I love to do, which is watch my friends play final tables. And so I went straight over to the final table area to watch Tim and to watch Mike Leo, because, you know, I wanted to see how someone goes for the three-peat. It started out 10-handed and Tim was a little shaky. He, for the first time in the tournament, wasn't gaining chips. He's like, oh man, like, I don't know what to do, I gotta do something. I'm like, dude, you're playing 10-handed right now. You need to chill, and people are gonna get knocked out. You're gonna make a lot of money as a result. Just relax and open up the game later. This is a transitionary state. This is when you gotta change gears. And he's like, okay, man, it doesn't feel right, but I trust you, I'm gonna do that. And I told him I'd bet a lot of money on him finishing in the top 5 spots, and sure enough, that's where he finished. 5th place for $62,000. Being there watching was awesome. I was able to take some pictures for him so he has some memoirs, some keepsakes from the experience, and I was also able to talk to him on all the breaks, just to give him that little bit of guidance so he was thinking the right thoughts instead of the wrong thoughts. Another perk to getting to watch that final table was watching Mike Leo run the show and learning a lot from a very accomplished, talented, consistent, and great player. And a bonus, another sign of how awesome the Gripsters are, Tim was so grateful for the extra time I'd put in with him, sending text message, sending emails, visiting him in his hotel room, sweating him for like 5 hours on the final table. He said, you know what, man, I want to cut you in. Here's 1% of my winnings. Thank you so much for the support. And I was just floored, and I was just so grateful and so thankful. And with that, you know, I was up money from the 1K tournament, and I hadn't even cashed it. Plus, I had an incredible experience, which is what these trips are all about. After that, I was feeling a little drained. You know, I'd put in my effort. I was still feeling good from the food, but I'm like, you know what? I think I'm ready to go home and get back into my routine. And my buddies are like, dude, what are you doing? Leaving. I'm like, what do you mean? I said the 2500 was my main. I'm gonna go home. And they said, dude, you gotta play the 5K. And I'm like, oh man, the 5K, like, that's a lot of money. And you know, my luck's not the best right now. And they're like, you've been playing poker long enough to know that luck can turn at any time. And what you're saying, it's just emotional BS, and it's gonna pass. I'm like, you're right. But still, 5K is too much. I don't want to fire 5K. They said, don't worry about it, dude. We'll buy a piece of you 100%. You're better than these guys. You're gonna do great. And I said, okay, let me take the day off and decide if it's a good idea or not. So I went to the Hilton Hotel. I spent some time in the sauna. I spent some time in the steam room. I spent some time in the pool. And as I was sitting there in quiet meditation, I said, you know what, they are right. I'm just as good as most of these guys. I'm better than a lot of these guys. And yeah, there are going to be some players in the field who are better than me, but they are the minority and not the majority, and therefore I shouldn't have to worry about it. So I reached out to my friends and a couple of backers, and I opted to sell about 70% of my action because I didn't want to be too over invested. I was comfortable putting up 1,000. That's still enough that I had like a good sweat in the tournament and I'd feel good if I won. Plus, I really wanted to make my backers some money. They've always believed in me. They've always invested in me, and I wanted to have a breakthrough score for them. So I got my investors together. I got my money together. I got a fantastic night's sleep. I was now rooming with my buddy Max, who's been there for every big win. Super good vibes to have around. And I was feeling awesome going into the day of the 5K. Showed up ready to rock. And same story, different tourney. Just every single pot went against me. The coup de grace being on my last hand, I had about 18K chips from the initial 30. I'd been down to like 12 and I ran it back up. And I got 2 black aces under the gun. I said, you know, it's time for change. I've been texting Tony Gregg saying positive things, being like, I'm gonna manifest good things, and then boom, 2 black aces, ready to rock. I raise under the gun, 800. Player in middle position, one of the weaker players on tables, calls. 2 more calls. Flop, king 7, 4 rainbow. I'm like, perfect. I'm gonna hit him with the check. Hit him with the check so that one of the 2 other players could stab. They were both, you know, fairly aggressive players who would bet when checked to. So I'm like, perfect, I'm gonna trap some dead money, and if it's a cooler, I'm gonna get it in anyway. But this way I can get some extra money out of the bluffs. I check, the first player bets, other 2 players fold, and his bet was so big that he was pretty much committed to the pot. I check raised all in for about double his bet and got looked up by king jack offsuit. I'm like, yes! I got this top pair beat, and this time I feel good. When I had aces in Montreal the last time and I got all in against Jack, something against me was like, no, I don't know if this is gonna work out. This time I was like, yo, I got this 100%. Turn, queen, river, king, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? What do I need to do? It's okay, it's okay. Because the luck that was against me there channeled to another spot. You see, in the 2,500, I'd made 2 swaps. I made a 2% swap with my buddy Simon Charette, who cashed the tournament, and I got a few $100 there. And I had a 2% swap with my buddy Ryan Yu, who was on the final table. And earlier that day, got in 6s against jacks and kings. And I looked over, I'm like, I think Ryan's got 6s. I'm gonna think 6. Flop, deuce, 4, deuce. I'm like, yo, I'm thinking 6. And I walked over to the table, and then boom, right on the turn, 6, baby. River bricked out. And I heard over the loudspeaker, Ryan Yu has just won, you know, 2.4 million chips, and we're down to 7 players. And I said, all right, I've been eliminated from the 5K, but no big deal. I got something more exciting to do, which is go watch my homie live the dream and make it all come true. And so I went over to sweat that final table, and I probably spent like 8 hours there, skipped dinner, skipped everything, because I just wanted to be there for the moment. I wanted to be there to support my friend and make sure that he knew that, you know, someone was there with him for the journey, and if he needed anything, I got it. When he ran out of cigarettes, I ran to the store and bought him a $16 pack of Belmonts. When he needed company on the breaks, I was there with him. When he needed space and he said, you know, I just want to talk to my wife, I said, you do your thing, man, I'll be right here. So I was helpful as much as I could be, and I wasn't overbearing. And watching the final table was awesome because I got to watch 3 incredibly skilled players in Xuan Liu, Dan Watton, and Ryan Yu battle it out from 7 players down to 3, where eventually they made a deal. And I learned so much from the experience of just watching these talents. So it was win-win. I was winning money from having a piece, and I was winning knowledge from being there. So, you know, I was supporting, you know, the 4th key S for success in tournament poker, but I was also just sweating, and it was pretty sweet. When it was all said and done, they made a 3-way deal where my homie made like, you know, around $250,000. So I got 5K for that. And I remember when we were up in the casino cages, and I'll do my best to capture the experience with these pictures, but I know it's not going to do it justice. And I remember when Ryan got his like 45K in cash, and it was time to hand it out to all the people who had pieces. We set it on a garbage can. Only in the poker world would you have guys with 40 G's sitting on a garbage can, and we're counting it out and giving everyone their pieces. And Jason James, the guy who busted me from the 2500, that same event, said, you know, this is how it should be every time. You know, you go in with a crew, everyone swaps, and as long as one guy comes through, everyone ends up a winner. And I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more because, you know, while we do everything we can to be the best player we can be, tournaments are extremely high variance. And so it's good to have a safety net that has you covered, that even if you don't come through, as long as one of your homies comes through, everyone's all good. And the benefit of striving to be the best player you can be, or being a role player who can really add value to the team, is that you'll get to be part of a stronger team who is more likely to get those first, second, third place finishes in those big chops. So absolutely incredible. Just so grateful and so thankful for the chance to watch these great players, to learn from these great players, to support these great players, and to be able to make some money as a result of being part of a team of great players. Because you know, I broke even on the 1K after the 1% from Tim. I lost about 2K in the 2,500 and I lost about 1K in the 5K, but my payday was 5, so all told I still came out ahead about $2,000, plus all the memories, all the experience, all the stories, which are absolutely priceless, and I'm so excited to do it again. If you would like to be a part of the next epic journey, it's going to be in Montreal in May at the Playground Poker Club for the Party Poker 5 million guaranteed, 1 million going to the winner. And yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be so, so great. And then the team is key. I remember at the end of the night when we were celebrating Ryan's big result, I was sitting there with my homie Sham, who's someone I really respect. Sham's the one who taught me about tournament poker. He taught me about the importance of having a network in the poker world. He taught me about the importance of studying, working hard to improve my game, and at the same time putting myself in the company of other people who could help me elevate my game and become a better player. He also showed me the importance of having fun. And when we were sitting there and he just got his piece, he said, "Now you get it, Evan." I said, "What's that?" He said, "It's not about winning the tournament. It's about being on a winning team. So whether it's you winning or someone else in your crew winning, you're still going to come out ahead. And you're still going to be okay. You're going to be able to survive in this game that is insanely high variance." And that really is the truth. Because he said, you know, it's hard to win these things. It takes a lot of luck to win these things. I know firsthand, I had to hit a ridiculous run out of cards on one hand in the 1K to get all the chips that I then used to make it to the final three and make a deal. And I saw it happen at the final table this year. Three-handed, Ryan, you got three-outed twice, once by each player. But at the same time, if he didn't hit that 6 earlier in the day, he wouldn't have been there. So because luck is almost a requirement for winning these big field events, but at the same time, you never know who's going to be the one who's the chosen one, who's the lucky one, it's good to split your investment and split your risk amongst your whole crew, so that as long as one of you is chosen, as long as one of you runs well, you're going to get the results. Because it's hard for one person to win these events, but it's also really hard for a crew of 10 or 20 really good players to not have someone in there go deep. Because ultimately, when it's all said and done, the cream tends to rise to the top. And if your team is nothing but the cream, expect to be the one making all that green. Yeah, okay, so next event is gonna be the Party Poker Million in Montreal. Really looking forward to it. Gonna get a great crew of guys there, and I'll do my best to document the journey along the way. If you're planning to go there and you wanna get your game in shape so that you'll be the one in the winner's circle or one of the people I'm supporting at the final table, strongly encourage you to check out my MTT video strategy guide, which will teach you everything you need to succeed at MTTs. It's a lot of the stuff that I used in my coaching sessions with Tim. And finally, if you enjoyed this story and you know someone who would enjoy it as well or would benefit from some of the lessons that I taught, please share this video with them, just to inspire them, teach them, and help me with my goal of 100,000 people reached and teach. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and listening to the story as much as I did telling and living it. Can't wait for the next one. See y'all again soon. Till then, you know what to do. Take what you learned, go out there and get stacking. Final table baby. Let's make it happen.
back to the hotel. Just got back from the casino cage. My man Ryan Yu just chopped the 25 Hyundai for $260,000. Your boy E, 2%. Lock up the 52 Hyundai. And despite breaking all 3 events out here, came ahead very nicely in the profits. Power of swapping, the power of teams, power of poker champions, the dream.